The volleyball team has advanced to the Sweet 16 for the third consecutive season and will travel to Austin, Texas this weekend. The sixth-seeded Badgers will take on number 11 seed Florida on Friday at 4:30 p.m. Number 3 Texas will face number 14 seed UCLA in the other semifinal. Semifinal winners will then advance to the regional final on Saturday at 8 p.m. for the right to compete in the 2015 NCAA Championship at CenturyLink Center in Omaha, Nebraska on December 17th and 19th. Coach Kelly Sheffield is here. We'll have some opening comments and take questions.
First of all, really appreciate all the fans that came out this past weekend, and that field house was as loud as I've heard it for both of those matches, and was appreciated and needed. We're obviously we're excited and about being one of the, there's 334 teams in the country, and be one of the 16 that are still playing, and being able to do it with a group that you really enjoy being in the gym with. I'm fortunate and excited about that. We've got a really tough, big group in front of us. You look at Florida and Texas and UCLA. I mean, those are three traditional thoroughbreds in our sport, and to have all three of them and to play them at Texas, we're excited. We've got Florida in front of us, and that is they might be as talented of a team. They might be the most talented team in the country. They've got four All-Americans, 4 returning All-Americans, and that doesn't include the National Freshman of the Year from a few years back. So a lot of talent on the other side of the net. We're just starting to break down film and putting together a game plan, but we're excited about still playing.
Mary Wise has stood the test of time down there. Do you know her well, and does she have a style that you're familiar with, or what do you know about her and her history and the teams she's produced?
She's had. There's not too many people that have had more success than she has. I mean, she's been doing it, year in and year out for more than 20 years, and that's that's something that you admire, is the people that are great consistently. There's so many people that have just kind of been, here, 1, 2, 3 years or something, but there are very few coaches in any sport that can keep their teams up toward the top every season. She's one of them. She's somebody since early on in my career. She's one of those few coaches that you study and see how they go about things. So the respect runs really, really deep for her. Strangely enough, this is the first time I've ever had one of my teams go up against them. So, that you're going to be. She does an unbelievable job recruiting. She gets very big, very physical, extremely athletic players that play very high above the net, and this team is probably right up there towards the top. And the types of teams that she's had over the years that are physical and high flying. This one's right up there.
If you guys end up playing Texas again, how do you prepare your team, not just for the talent that they have, but also for the added factor of you beat them in the national semifinals 2 years ago, and they're probably going to be extra ramped up for that?
Yeah, there's probably about 80% of the two rosters that were still in high school when that match happened. So, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't think that's a non-factor. I mean, that was a big match for us 2 years ago. It was an important match for our program. But we've played 70 matches since then to now against some really good teams. We beating Minnesota last year twice was really big for our program, and they got us twice this year. I mean, just one example. We see so many teams that are that caliber between then and now, is that it's, that match really has really nothing to do with majority of our team. I mean, 60% of our team wasn't even here last year, and so I don't even know what it was. Probably 80% of our team wasn't around two years ago. But they're athletically, I've watched very, very little of them. Almost all of our attention's been on Florida. I mean, those two teams are very similar from an athletic standpoint. And UCLA, caught a little bit of their match on Saturday, and I don't think I've seen a better defensive team than what I was witnessing that last part of that Michigan match. It's going to be a heck of a weekend.
Talked a lot about your opponents so far today. Your team's playing pretty well in its own right. Where are you happiest in how your team is playing?
We played against two very different styles this past weekend. And the amount of stress that both teams put on you defensively and ball control was very, very high. And I think the thing that I'm happiest about with our group is just we've really grown into a really, really tough team. I thought defensively, we were great. Both matches for long stretches of time, and that's something we've really talked about is can we stretch out our time of being good? And I thought we were good for really long stretches. We bounced back after errors really well. I thought we had the mindset that that you want to have for each of those matches. But I would say twofold. I think defensively we were really good. We got great touches against Oregon. We didn't get a lot of stuff blocks against them, but we got a lot of positive touches and ran them down the backcourt. And I thought our backcourt was fantastic against Iowa State. So I would say defensively, you're really impressed with, really proud of the direction that we're heading, and then probably just mentality. I think we're starting to round into being a team that has the mentality that I think all the elite teams have, and I think we're starting to get that.
Andy, Kelly, your players after you got through the first or the second round talked about the mantra of being 1% better every single day.
Mm-hmm.
How have you gotten better as a coach from the start of the season?
How have I gotten better? I don't know. You don't get asked that question very much, so you got me stumbling here. I don't know. You get better learning your players. It's this was a really, really hard season. The first part of it was really hard, and it was hard on everybody. But I don't think that scared anybody. The learning process is a lot of fun. It's a joy, and everybody kind of when you're losing a few, everybody wants to sit there and say, "Hey, keep your head up," and it's to all coaches, and probably because you just don't know what else to say, and but the learning process is something that is really, really fun, and so when somebody's not getting it and they start getting it, and you see them start believing a little bit more, that's a process that's really, really fun to be a part of. With 60% of this team new, we're really young. We got one senior. I think you get a lot better as a coaching staff of realizing what individuals, how they respond in certain situations. And so, the first part of the season, we'll try a lot of different things with different kids, and then sit back and watch how they respond. We might really jump on somebody. We might give them a lot of praise. We might just give them information. We might put some barriers up there at different times, and then we'll sit there and say, all right, how did they respond to this? And then you take these mental notes as you're going through the season, and then hopefully, if you're doing things the right way, you know how to go about things when it really, really matters at the end. And so probably the biggest thing we've learned is how to communicate and work with each individual.
Has there been a light bulb moment yet this year in terms of confidence where you looked at your team and realized that they believe they can beat anybody? And if so, when was that?
That's a funny question, because we've got players on our team that they themselves absolutely believe they're going to win no matter what, and I think that is an all-the-time thing. But when you're asking about do you have confidence in your team, of being able to mesh and play well together, and that's 6 people in a very small area, and so that communication and how, being able to know who's got what ball in the seams and things, that takes some time and some trust. And so individually, I think we had players that have known, they feel like they're going to win every time, but when that trust in the team of like, all right, I know when I'm going into this battle, I don't know if I'm, this competition, that everybody else is in the fight with me. And probably early on in the year that we probably had some players that were looking around back behind and saying, hey, are you with me right now? That doesn't happen now. That hasn't happened in a while. I would say probably around those, we didn't have everybody in that first week, Penn State and Ohio State, and just we didn't we had certain players that just didn't know how hard they had to work. Once we were coming around that Minnesota time, even though we lost both of those matches, we started really pulling in a lot tighter as a team. You could really see some growth in the gym. Even though we lost both those matches, I was feeling pretty good about where we were headed about that time. I don't think it was a light bulb moment. It was players just working. Lauren Gillis, coming up to Brittany and saying, I want to spend more time in the gym, just you and me. And those two would just go in there, and Gilly would have her headset on with her music. And I don't think there was just any coaching going on. I think it was just a coach and a player just repping things out. And you get confidence when you work. When things go tough, there's some people that will run the other way and they'll hide. They won't even look at the mailbox when the bills come. And there's other people that they're not afraid of things being tough. They'll go and they'll rep it out. They'll work it out. We've got players, Gilly being one of them, that they want to rep it out, and you get confidence from that.
How much is going through the rigors of the Big Ten going to help you out in this another mini 4-team tournament this weekend?
I think it's huge. I mean, it's these are two. The 2 teams that you just played those were really, really good teams. And the 3 teams that are at these are 3 elite teams, elite programs. And fortunately, our conference is peppered with those. And so I don't think anybody in the country has played more top 50 teams than we have this year. I think we played the most, maybe us and one other program. So it's not going to be a shock, the level of competition that we're playing this weekend. It's not going to be a shock to anybody on our team. Now the thing is, do you go out there and execute in that situation? But I think the Big Ten, I don't think anything prepares you better than that league.
Kelly, to listen to you all season long, you seem like someone who puts toughness above everything else in terms of how your team plays. Is there a game plan for cultivating that? Do you have a specific way of doing that, or is it a different approach every week? Is it a different approach with every player? One would think that's the case, but is that how you go about your business?
Well, I think it's toughness, but it's also passion and enthusiasm for what you're doing. Trust. I think trust is massive, and that's why when we communicate with everybody, not just the coaches, but when we're talking players to players, is that let's cut the BS and everything else. Let's deal with the truth. And so you're not wasting all this energy on they said this, but are they thinking this? And I think that's really, really critical. If you've got a high level of trust, and then you can kind of really move forward. But yeah, certainly toughness is. I've never seen a team in any sport that was elite, that was soft, and so. I think that's really big. How do we cultivate that? I think you cultivate it with a consistency in how you go about things every single day. There's nothing that we're doing in our gym that's magical by any means. I think the thing that we try to do is every single day we think as coaches that we need to approach the gym the exact same way every single day. And it doesn't matter if it's preseason or where we're at now or middle of October. And then you just have a standard, and we talk about that standard. And you know, if they're not meeting, you know, here we are. I mean, everybody's pretty fired up. We're heading to the Sweet 16. That's pretty cool. You know, and you would think everybody's going to want to be in the gym, you know, and coaches are happy, everybody's happy. But you walk into practice today, and there's people that have left their enthusiasm down the locker room, or you know, their effort to go after balls. You know, instead of safety last on defense, they start thinking safety first on defense. Then we're going to have some issues. And I think it's that standard every single day that I think builds confidence, and it builds that toughness that you said.
Anything else for Coach?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kelly.